Okay, perfect. So today for our class, we are going through a Vinyasa Flow sequence, but it's going to be just a little bit gentler with a little bit more emphasis on stretching, feeling into the body, breathing. So we're just going to get started in a nice child's pose. So it could be narrow legged, it could be wide legged, wide legged, whatever supports you today, depending on how open the hip space feels right now. So just use your legs to whatever feels good, gently beginning to walk the hands down towards the mat. And maybe you place your forehead down on the earth. Maybe you place your forehead on a block to create a little bit of space, whatever is going to work best for you today. And just begin to start focusing, looking inwards to the breath. Developing an intention for our practice today, which might just be to slow down, to let go, or maybe to find an escape. And our quote for the practice today comes from Alana Stewart, and it's that no matter what kind of challenges or difficulties or painful situations you go through in your life, we all have something deep within us that we can reach down and find the inner strength to get through them. And collectively, we're just going to take 3 releasing breaths on the inhale, breathing deep into the belly, maybe feeling it expand between the thighs. And on the exhale, releasing it through the mouth, feeling the belly pull the navel in towards the spine. Inhale deeply. And exhale, release. Inhaling deeply one last time. And exhale, let it all go. We're slowly going to begin to ease into a Cobra pose from our child's pose. So just shifting the bottom forwards, just coming into a really gentle back bend, maybe keeping the elbows just a little bit bent, maybe gazing upwards, keeping this as open or as close to the ground as you would like, depending on how open you feel in your back today. You've got all 10 toenails pressing into the mat and just feeling into that. And we're just going to begin to flow from our child's pose to our cobra's pose. So on the inhale, just gently beginning to sit the bottom back down onto the heels, resting the head down to the earth. And on the exhale, lift the bottom, shift the upper body forwards into your low cobra. Inhale, find your way into your child's pose. And exhale, moving into your low cobra. And just begin to take this flow at your own pace, moving between your child's pose and your cobra based on the rhythm of the breath. Feeling the way that these 2 poses really nicely counter one another. Really lovely. Take your last flow, your last exhale, finding your way into that cobra pose. And we're going to make our way into Sphinx pose. So just dropping the forearms down to the ground or stacking the elbows directly underneath the shoulders. And just gaze forward, broadening through the collarbones, opening the heart space. You might find a really nice release of tension in the lower spine. And we're going to take some gentle half neck rolls in our Sphinx pose. So you're going to drop the chin into the chest. And on the inhale, take the right ear to the right shoulder. And exhale, release back through center. Inhale, left ear to left shoulder. And exhale down through center. And again, just as before, start to take this at your own pace to the rhythm of your own breath, taking those gentle neck rolls. Maybe you take full neck circles if that feels a little bit better for you, if you're living in a slightly more open neck area, neck space. We're really focusing on a nice full body stretch here today. Beautiful. Finding your way back through center. We're going to come into a shoulder opening pose. So you might want to scoot yourself back just a little bit on the mat. And you're going to press the chest all the way down to the mat. Bring the arms out into a cactus on either side. And what we're going to do is you're going to keep your right arm cactused and slowly begin to roll the body onto the right side. And you might bring your left leg bent, the toes to the floor. You might be pressing the fingertips of the left hand into the earth just to keep yourself a little bit steady, but you'll find a really nice opening in the right shoulder. And if this is a little bit intense this early in your practice, sometimes it can help to bend the knees and stack them on top of one another. That might just reduce a little bit of the sensation to bring you to a little bit more of a comfortable point. Beautiful. And we're going to take the same pose on the other side. So again, cactusing the arms. This time really making sure to cactus that left arm. Maybe you press the right fingertips on the ground as you begin to come back onto your left side. Maybe pressing the left ear down onto the earth. And again, if this is a little bit intense, you can always feel free to bend the knees and just stack them on top of one another. I find that this can be a really beneficial pose even at the end of a day after, sitting at your computer all day. We develop this kind of poor posture, and this can be a nice way of opening up the chest after a lot of hunching of the spine. Take one more deep breath, breathing into where you feel the sensation. And on the exhale, we're going to begin to make our way into a tabletop, preparing for our cat-cows. So shifting the wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And on the inhale, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze, and the tailbone up towards the sky, broadening through the collarbones into your cow pose. And on the exhale, tucking the chin in towards the chest, arching the spine like a Halloween cat, and tucking the tailbone inwards. Inhale, drop the belly, peel the gaze and the tailbone up. And exhale, arch the spine, tuck the chin towards the chest. And again, taking it at your own pace. As always, I really like to incorporate just a little bit of circular movement with the spine, if that might feel good for you. Almost as if you're rolling the body within a barrel. But again, just an option, and if you do, making sure to roll the opposite way as well. And from wherever you are, stopping your movement, finding your way to neutral, we're going to make our way into our first downward facing dog pose. So spreading through the fingers, tucking the toes, peeling the tailbone towards the sky and pressing deep into the knuckles. Externally rotate the forearms so that you can make just a little bit of extra space for the head, the neck. Maybe you begin to walk your dog, bending one knee at a time. And of course, if this is, it's early in our practice, you can always take a nice gentle bend through the knees in your downward facing dog. Really focusing on the quality of the inhales and the exhales. If you were walking your dog, maybe stopping that movement. When you're ready, gazing towards the front of your mat, you're going to step or hop into our low yogi squat or malasana pose. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring the edges of the feet to the outer edges of the mat. You're going to take the hands at heart center. Maybe you're going to have the elbows pressing the knees outwards, finding this nice squat position, opening up through the hips. And I like to rock from side to side just for a little bit of extra sensation. We're really working to lengthen the spine here, so keeping this pose really active. If that's a little bit difficult, you can always shift a block underneath the sacrum. And that'll allow you to keep the spine nice and tall while focusing on the opening of the hip flexors. And on the inhale, we're going to find our way up into a flat back, maybe walking the feet in about hips width apart. And on the exhale, take a nice deep forward fold. And from your forward fold, maybe coming into ragdoll, so taking hands to elbows. Maybe you take a generous bend in the knees and maybe you just rock from side to side. On the inhale, rooting down to rise up, taking the hands towards the sky, and on the exhale, hands come together through heart center. Making your way into our mountain pose, our Tadasana, feeling through all four corners of the feet. We're going to take the hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers, pulling the chest open. Take a deep inhale, and on the exhale, find your way into a forward fold, letting those arms, letting the shoulders drop in front of you. If you have the hands interlaced, dropping the fingertips to the floor, we're going to come up to a flat back in spine prep, and on the exhale, we're going to plant the palms, step the feet back into a high plank. And we'll take our first vinyasa. Now this is of course optional, and really our focus here is to stretch and to flow. So if you'd rather go back to downward facing dog, please do. Otherwise, we're going to come into chaturanga, our push-up position, pressing the elbows in tight to the body. Upward facing dog or a cobra, pressing all 10 toenails into the mat. And tucking the toes for a downward facing dog. Beautiful. Now just playing a little bit into our sun salutation A's on the inhale, gazing towards the front of the mat. Step or hop up to the front, coming to a flat back, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, bringing the hands all the way up to the sky, and exhale, hands through heart center. And we're gonna make our way into a pyramid pose here from our mountain pose. So you're just gonna begin by stepping the right leg back, maybe just about hips width, whatever feels good. You've got the right foot at just a really slight angle here, but we're pointing the pelvis and the torso forwards to the short end of our mat. And we're slowly going to begin to hinge from the hip creases, folding forward, keeping the hips nice and square. And maybe you bring your fingertips to the ground. Now, if it feels good, you can stay here. You could fold all the way forward over that left leg rather. But I am going to give you the option to take a revolved pyramid pose. Now, this might be a little bit easier with a block, maybe a book, place it on the outer edge of the left foot. And what you're going to do is press the right fingertips either to the outer edge of the foot on the mat or onto the block. And you're going to reach the left arm up towards the sky so that the torso is facing the left side wall, but you're still squaring off the hips. Keeping a nice micro bend in that front leg. And just breathing into the sensation. Finding a drishti, a soft gazing point to steady the body, especially if you're taking this revolved pyramid pose. And if you did take the revolved pose, bringing the fingertips back towards the ground, pointing the torso and the chest forward. From wherever you are, we're going to move it gently into a low lunge, just dropping that back leg or that back right knee down to the mat, reaching the arms up, and just sinking deeply into the left hip flexor. Maybe it feels good just to bounce up and down just a little bit, to sink a little bit deeper each time. And on the exhale, we're going to begin to straighten the front leg, making our way into a half split. As you straighten the front leg, you're going to begin to press the hips backward. You're going to try to see if you can press the right hip forward and the left hip back, really squaring them off here. Now I'm a little bit folded forward. You don't have to be, if it's a little bit more comfortable for you to come up onto the fingertips or onto a block, whatever feels good. Keeping that left foot active, pressing the toes towards the sky. And as you're ready, you're going to bend into that front knee. We're going to find ourselves into an easy twist. So planting the right hand right next to the left foot, reaching the left arm up towards the sky and glancing, if it feels good on your neck, up towards the left. Now, if you want to take this just a little bit more of an opening, you can do a bit of a half bind, reaching the left hand behind the back, just to open up the shoulder a little bit more, open up the heart space towards the sky. And if you did take that half bind, bringing the left hand down to the mat on the other side of the left foot, stepping the left leg back, you're coming to a high plank, optional vinyasa. Chaturanga, elbows in tight. Upward facing dog or cobra, pressing all 10 toenails into the mat and tucking the toes for a downward facing dog. Beautiful. And on the inhale, again, stepping or hopping to the front of the mat, finding your way into a flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root down to rise up. Bring the hands all the way to the sky, and exhale, hands through heart center. Into your mountain pose. This time we're going to step the left leg back for our pyramid pose, maybe about hips width apart. And on the inhale, create length in the spine. On the exhale, hinge from the hip creases, fold forward. Maybe you find the fingertips to the floor, option one. Option two, maybe you fold all the way forward over that right leg. And option three, you're going to find a revolved pyramid pose. So maybe you place a block to the outer edge of the right foot, holding on to the block with the left hand and reaching the right arm up. Now, of course, you don't need the block, but it can be a really beneficial support in this pose. And as you're ready, taking both of the fingertips to the floor, maybe moving your block to the side. We're going to move into a low lunge, dropping the left knee down to the earth, reaching the arms up, and just deeply pressing into the right hip flexor. From your low lunge here, maybe just take the left hand, take a hold of the right wrist, and just gently pull the right arm over to the left, opening up the right side body. And on the exhale, release back through center. This time, take a hold of the left wrist with the right hand and gently pull the left arm over towards the right, cracking open the left side body this time. Breathing into that space that's being created. In yoga, we always say we're making space, we're holding space. Not just in the body, not just for the body, but for the mind, for the breath, for the focus. And find your way back through center. We're going to, on the exhale, begin to shift the hips back and begin to straighten the right leg, coming into our half splits. Now, of course, I should have said before, if you'd like to take a full split, please absolutely feel free. Now, from wherever you are, again, you could be up on the fingertips, up onto blocks, or you could begin to fold forward, just making sure you're keeping that right leg active, foot pressed up to the sky, or toes rather pressed up to the sky. Pulling the left hip forward, right hip back. And we're going to find our way into an easy twist. So bending back into that right knee, taking the sole of the right foot to the floor. Left hand plants next to the right foot. Right arm reaches up towards the sky. Maybe focusing on the nice stretch through the left calf. If you would like to take a half bind, bringing the right hand behind the back. Opening up the chest, gazing upwards if it's comfortable on your neck. And as you're ready, we're going to take the right hand to the other side of the right foot, step the right foot back. Optional Vinyasa, Chaturanga, upward facing dog, or cobra. And tucking the toes into your downward facing dog. Now on the inhale, the right leg is going to sweep up towards the sky for a three-legged dog. And on the exhale, we're going to make our way into our pigeon pose, beginning to bend the knee and taking it through to center so that we've got the shin or the calf parallel to the front of the mat, or maybe bent in a little bit. And you can stay up here if this feels good. If you feel like you're popping up on the right hip space, you can always take a block underneath. And on the exhale, if it serves you, maybe folding forward into your sleeping pigeon. Now, if you would like to stay in your sleeping pigeon, please feel free. Otherwise, I might encourage just a little bit of a dynamic movement here. So maybe taking the fingertips to the outer edges of the top of your mat. And just on the inhale, pressing the spine up, breathing deep. And on the exhale, bending the elbows, dropping the torso back down. Inhale, press up. Exhale, release. Again, just an option, something I find feels really good in my body. But maybe for your body, a regular sleeping pigeon is what feels good for you, and that's perfectly all right. And from wherever you are, whether you took those flows or just a sleeping pigeon, beginning to walk the hands back towards the hips. We're going to pop up onto the ball of the left foot, step the right leg back, make your way into a downward facing dog. And this time we're going to shoot the left leg up into a 3-leg dog and begin to bend the left knee, taking the leg forward into your pigeon pose. Trying to get the front of the leg parallel to the front of the mat. And you can stay here if it feels good. Otherwise, you can walk the hands down for a sleeping pigeon. And as before, option 1, stay into your sleeping pigeon. Option 2, take the fingertips to the outer edges of your mat. And on the inhale, straightening the elbows, pressing the chest up. On the exhale, dropping the chest forward down onto the mat, bending into the elbows. And from wherever you are, your sleeping pigeon, maybe your flow, taking the hands back in towards the hips. We're going to press into the hands, pop up onto the right foot, step the left leg back into your downward facing dog. On the inhale, you're going to step or hop into a seat, spreading the legs straight out in front of you. Beginning to make our way towards the close of our practice, we're going to take a forward fold. So on the inhale, lengthening through the spine, pressing the chest up, reaching the arms upwards. And on the exhale, fold forward over the legs. As always, thinking of hinging from the hip creases, keeping the spine straight, and maybe pressing the belly into the thighs as opposed to the head into the knees. And on the inhale, raising all the way back up. You're going to plant the soles of the feet into the mat. Reach the arms out in front of you and just gently guide the back towards the earth. And release, lovely. I'm going to hug the knees in towards the chest, and we'll just take a gentle spinal twist. So from here, just dropping the knees down to the right side of the mat. Maybe you take the arms into a cactus or into a T, gazing over the left shoulder. If you want to intensify the spinal twist just a little bit more, you can always cross the right leg on top of the left for just a slightly deeper variation. Inhale, bring the knees back through center, and this time drop them over to the left side of the mat, gazing over the right. shoulder. And again, same variation applies if you'd like to cross the left leg on top of the right for just a little bit of a deeper twist. And again, taking these back through center, giving them a hug. One last pose before we make our way into our final resting pose or Shavasana. I'm going to encourage you to take a Baddha Konasana if you would like, taking the soles of the feet together and just allowing the knees to drop to either side. And I'm going to encourage you to take the backs of the palms to the earth, but maybe to bring the first finger and the thumb together as you drop backs of the hands to the earth. This kind of represents this universal flow of consciousness, if you will. And I'm just encouraging you to gently begin to close the eyes. And just think of something this week, something today, something present in your mind that you're really, really grateful for. It could be a person, a pet, an item. It could be yourself, really, whatever you think of. And just take a moment to sit with that gratitude. As you're ready, we can make our way into our final resting pose. Maybe you stay in the Supta Baddha Konasana if it feels really nice for you, or otherwise, maybe you take the soles of the feet away from each other. You stretch the legs out long. Maybe you release the first finger and the thumb, or maybe you keep them together. Just giving the body permission to relax, taking the focus away from the breath. Melting into the mat, quiet mind, quiet body, Shavasana. I'm going to gently encourage you to just start wiggling the fingers and the toes. But also know, as always, you can stay in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. There's no pressure, there's no need to rush. Maybe you start to find just a really nice full body stretch, reaching the arms up overhead, stretching out through the legs. Really taking your time. Maybe you shift onto either your right side or your left, just gently beginning to find your way into a comfortable seat. And if you are there, again, if you're in your Shavasana, please stay. But if you are there in a comfortable seat, maybe taking either the hands through center or, of course, a hand over the heart, the other hand on top. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Thank you for sharing your space with me. The light in me recognizes, honors, and loves the light in you. Namaste, yogis. And again, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that kind of full body, gentle vinyasa flow. Next week, I might heat it up a little for just a little bit more of an energetic vinyasa, but I hope you enjoyed. And thank you again for coming. I hope you all have a beautiful week. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you, Nadia.